Former President of Pakistan, General Pervez Musharraf, thank you so much for giving NDTV some of your time this morning.
My pleasure.
I want to ask you first, you're always a welcome visitor to India, in spite of the fact that you're called an architect of Kargil. I want to start by asking you, do you have any regrets about Kargil now that you're such a welcome visitor in India?
Do you expect me to ever say that yes, I regret it? If somebody was to ask the Indian Prime Minister, do you regret having divided Pakistan and made Bangladesh? Do you regret having come into Siachen? Would he say yes, we regret, we are very sorry? How do you expect that? I don't regret it.
But in the subsequent years that one has seen, the relationship between India and Pakistan, there have been incidents every time there is an attempt towards peace or rapprochement. You see an incident, you see an attack. What do you say about that?
Well, they should not disturb the overall scenario of a policy of rapprochement. That is my concern, that there are people who would like to disturb, are trying to approach each other and having a rapprochement with each other. If we are playing in their hands. We should not think that it is the government of Pakistan who's getting these actions or terrorist acts done. That is not the case. But the terrorists are there. So such an incident can take place anytime. Does that mean we should go to war? So I was totally amazed at the reaction in 2002 when the whole Indian forces got concentrated against Pakistan. We also did that and it became a nuclear flashpoint. For what? For an attack by terrorists against your parliament. I regretted it. Does India think that I ordered them to attack the parliament? It's ridiculous and it is preposterous.
So, taking that point forward, on the case of 2611, for example, there's been a recent admission in the anti-terror court in Rawalpindi as well by the prosecution in Pakistan that yes, these people have been trained in Pakistan. Do you think that the establishment, the military and the political establishment there needs to do more to be able to crack down on the kind of groups that are active over there?
Whoever said who has been trained, we have to look at history of the past 20-30 years. There has been militancy going on in Afghanistan. There has been militancy in Kashmir.
Right.
The fallout of that has been in Pakistan, religious militancy and courage. And then Pakistan is following a certain national policy towards Kashmir and towards Afghanistan, and that is how things happen. But if you are talking of training now of every terrorist who goes there by the government or government sponsored organization, that is not the case.
Even if that's not the case, even if the contention that Pakistan makes is that these are non-state actors that are operating inside Pakistan, it's a statement we hear from Islamabad on a regular basis. People like Hafiz Muhammad Saeed, who are delivering incendiary speeches on the streets of Pakistan against India, people from the Lashkar-e-Taiba who are currently facing trial within Pakistan as well, should there not be more of a recognition that these groups need to be dealt with more aggressively?
Well, it's a sensitive issue. As I said, we have to go back to 1989 when Kashmir freedom struggle, as we call it, you can call it anything else, started. There was great public sympathy in Pakistan for them. So it is since then that this was happening.
Between 1989 and 2012.
Yes. Now these organizations have become very, when you are talking of Lashkar-e-Taiba, it's a very effective, strong organization. And also they are involved in welfare activity. Jamaat-ud-Dawa was the best NGO working in during our earthquake in the northern areas.
But does that justify this activity?
It does not. It certainly does not. And any terrorist activity, now the policy of the government and in the later stages of my government is certainly no export, no terrorism outside Pakistan, no terrorism inside Pakistan by anyone. So one has to act. But when there are certain personalities, if I was to equate, if you see Bal Thackeray Saab, who has died, if you see what he's been saying, they don't allow Pakistan cricket team to go to Bombay and play, and they are going to come, they are not going to play in Bombay. So these things happen. Can you act against such people? It needs certain sensitivities. There are certain sensitivities.
So are you comparing Bal Thackeray to Hafiz Muhammad Saeed?
No, I'm not giving a comparison at all. Certainly not. But certainly such people who are very controversial, it becomes the government becomes a little constrained to act against them. But if anyone is involved, yes, we should take action. We must take action against any terrorist who is involved outside Pakistan, including involved in Bombay.
Right. So do you think that given the kind of staggered progress on the 2611 cases, this trial has been pending now for a long time, and the fact that this one incident so many years later continues to actually just threaten the basis of a lasting peace between India and Pakistan, one that you work very hard towards as president as well?
Quite clearly, unfortunately, since the 50s, our intelligence organizations have been on a confrontationist course. They have been fighting a proxy war in each other's countries. I would like to say that we should not blame only Pakistan's intelligence. I would like to blame RAW. They have both been fighting a proxy war within each other's countries and elsewhere in the region also. So this has to stop. But it is not unilateral action only to be stopped by Pakistan's intelligence and everything that the Indian intelligence is doing, which is exactly the same that Pakistan intelligence does. So both need to stop.
So in your view, what is the way forward? As I said, I mean, as president, you came up with the 4-point plan on Kashmir. I mean, things were moving in a particular direction. The invitation to Dr. Manmohan Singh is still pending from your presidency. All of that seems to be on hold.
Yes, the way forward quite clearly is rapprochement. It's friendship for the sake of socio-economic development of both the countries. We have to resolve our disputes. We have to stop a possibility of a proxy war in Afghanistan by interfering there. And we have to also reduce forces who are confronting each other. And then there are positive elements of increasing trade, people-to-people movement of goods. All this has to be done in a totality of.
But so every time one talks about, possibly even a breakthrough or talks progressing on Siachen or Sir Creek or even those, for example, there's always something that falls by the wayside. Whether it's in the nature of an attack that destroys the peace for the moment, whether it's in the nature of the establishments on either side getting cold feet and saying, okay, too soon.
I think it's totally, I consider these as a leadership function. The leaders on both sides need to be popular with the people so that people go along with whatever they are deciding, and they have to be bold and courageous. And that is another issue. So it's a leadership function to dictate the will onto the positive side, and not to allow the establishment, the intelligence to sour relations.
So do you think that the leadership in Pakistan right now doesn't enjoy public support if it comes to taking bold steps?
Well, certainly they are not very popular in the public.
You've launched your own political party. You're talking about going back to Pakistan at some point and asserting your own political presence over there. Give us a timeline of when you're planning that, how you expect to make your mark when you go back on the political scene.
Timeline is before the next elections, and I think it is related to the timing of the next elections, the creation or formation of the interim government, which is to be 3 months before the next elections. So I need to know the timeline of all this before I decide, but it has to be before the next election. I will participate in the next election. My party will participate in the next election, and the objective obviously is not to get a few seats and sit in the National Assembly. I've held very high positions, and I cannot be just an ordinary member of a parliament and sit there. So therefore the objective is to maybe get into a position of governance. My object of joining politics is what is happening in Pakistan. The people are terribly despondent, and one needs to do something there.
So but how would you tackle the legal cases that are pending against you when you go back? Those are fairly serious charges.
Yes, we'll tackle them in the courts, because I know that they have no legal basis. They are politicized. In certain cases, judicial activism going on. In certain cases, politicization of cases. If you see them purely from legal point of view, they have no legs to stand at all. None of the cases. They are totally baseless.
You're not afraid of what may happen upon your return. I mean, the fact that there are calls to have you put in jail, be arrested, all kinds of things, none of that phases you.
A lot of my politicians say one becomes popular by going to jail. So I haven't, let me get the experience of going to jail also.
In your view, right now, amongst the political class in Pakistan, who do you think actually stands a chance? Someone like an Imran Khan, for example, who's trying to mobilize his own support base. Who, in your view, really is making headway politically in Pakistan?
It's unfortunate that at the present, unless a very strong attempt is made to change the political status quo, I call it, I think the same people, however unpopular they are, will continue governing Pakistan. This is an unfortunate fact. So therefore, my decision to form a party and go back is to change this equation, because that is what Pakistan needs at this moment.
Are you confident the public will welcome you back?
I am confident that there is a lot of support, but it has to be concentrated. There is a lot of dispersed support, but it needs to be concentrated into and converted into a vote bank. The real change can only come once I go there. And I hope that I can bring about a change. I can't be 100% sure.
When you look at what's going on in Pakistan today and the kind of place it occupies on the world stage in terms of the most unsafe place in the world, the AFPAC areas, you see the drone strikes, do you feel that your legacy somewhere has been diminished or destroyed, your legacy as a leader of Pakistan?
Well, no, it hasn't. It is diminished, yes. But that doesn't mean that it was wrong. It was the right policy, it's the right direction that we had taken. But you have to sustain that direction with strength and with focus and with understanding. Because we are in a very difficult situation within Pakistan and in the region, especially on the west. It's a difficult situation to handle.
And the domestic government in Pakistan doesn't display that determination, according to you?
Well, they have shown weakness and lack of understanding and weakness in the political system where there is a coalition going on, and so therefore I think...
Had you been in power today, how would you have handled the Pakistan-US policy, for example, the way we've seen the drone strikes take place, the damage and death? How would you have handled this situation?
As I was handling, there were only about 8 or 9 drone attacks in 4 years during my tenure, and there was no US intelligence like black water roaming around in the streets of Pakistan and shooting our people down. There was no question that such things could happen in my time, because we were acting strongly with our own forces, with our second line forces, with the military, everywhere that we needed to act.
Do you think that especially since 2011, when Osama bin Laden was found and killed in Abbottabad, for example, that it has emboldened the Western discourse on the fact that this is the most unsafe place, that Pakistan is harboring terrorists? This man was found in a garrison town at the end of the day.
Well,
and it's something when you were president, you constantly said that he's not here, he's not in Pakistan. You're absolutely confident of that.
Yes, I was. I never said, as you have said, I always said I don't know. He could be anywhere, because I don't know. So if I used to react like that when somebody said he's in Pakistan with no information. So I always used to react to that. How do you say he's in Pakistan? Why can't it be anywhere else? Why can't he be in Afghanistan or anywhere else for that matter? So that is how I used to react.
But as it turned out, he was in Pakistan.
Yes, he was in Pakistan. So.
And whose intelligence failure was that then?
Pakistan's intelligence failure, yes, one has to admit.
That was Pakistan's intelligence failure. Do you think the response of the Pakistani government after the attack on bin Laden and after his killing was excessive? Do you think it was the right reaction as far as the West was concerned? How do you think the government should have reacted?
No, I think it was a right reaction because the sovereignty of Pakistan was compromised. When foreign forces fly into Pakistan and act militarily, our sovereignty was violated. So the reaction was correct, and the reaction of the people was very, very aggressive. Why was this allowed?
going back a little to what you said a short while ago about India and Pakistan, and you also brought in Afghanistan into the mix. You're talking about a possible proxy war. Do you think those fears are really justified, or do you think that they're exaggerated?
No, I think they are very justified. I see three possible scenarios emerging after 2014. In case the coalition forces leave lock, stock and barrel, either we are going to revert to 1989, where the Soviet Union was defeated and everyone left the scene, and there was total warlordism going on in Afghanistan, and Afghanistan was ravaged. Or it will be 1996, where it was Taliban emerged and Taliban versus Northern Alliance. Or if the US forces leave, some forces, support forces for the Afghan National Army, then it's going to be a similar status quo. But all three will affect Pakistan first of all. So if any external force tries to create an anti-Pakistan Afghanistan, then Pakistan will try to create a pro-Pakistan Afghanistan. That is how this proxy war starts, unfortunately. Let Afghanistan look after itself and decide for its own future, and no external influence should be there.
But in your mind, then what constitutes a proxy war? Because if you're looking at India's role currently in Afghanistan, it's a little over $2 billion in reconstruction aid, and so what would then define a proxy war in your view?
Well, when you've got consulates in Kandahar and Jalalabad, and they are functioning certainly to the detriment of Pakistan. And also in the construction activity that you are talking of, there are a lot of it is going on the border with Pakistan, and I know that the cover operatives of your intelligence operate with the construction team. So that is how the interference goes on. I mean, let's not behave like ostriches as if nothing is happening.
No, but by the same token, when there are attacks on the Indian mission in Kabul, which were fatal attacks and killed our diplomats as well, those attacks were also traced back to people who had links with Pakistan.
We are getting into an argument which is, it's a chicken and egg situation. You did that, so we did this. We did this, so you did that. Right. I think let's cut it. First of all, let us understand that this is happening. So if we are both prepared to stop all this, it's very good. I agree with that.
So fundamentally, sir, while there are lots of confidence building measures that people talk about, the issue again comes down to a simple thing, which is how do you build trust between the two leaderships?
Trust is solution of problems. That is how trust will be built. And I am against this idea that you can have people-to-people exchanges and don't forget about the disputes, forget about everything. Can you do that when we are fighting? We are going to fight, maybe if at all, in this proxy war of Afghanistan that I am talking of. Then there are disputes, the Kashmir dispute, Siachen, Sir Creek. So what about that? This confrontation continues, and if at all another incident like Bombay or Parliament attack, another takes place, which is a possibility, by the way, individually by any non-state actors, as you said, and you react, we are again on a confrontation. So how can we move forward, start rapprochement without addressing the core issues?
So you just said it yourself. I mean, the fact that they are non-state actors is a contention that's made by the Pakistani establishment. Again, as we say, it's what Pakistan says versus what India says.
It's not what
it
they
goes
say.
on like this. So
I am admitting that we have been doing these things. I admit you have been doing, and Pakistan has been, India and Pakistan have been on a confrontation. We have been fighting a proxy war in each other's countries since 1950. I am saying that, and I know that has been done. So I am not denying these things, but now we have to stop all that. That is what I am saying.
Do you think India needs to do more then in that case to build trust?
And India certainly needs to do a lot. Niyat has to be, the sincerity of the intentions have to be there to resolve these disputes. Secondly, when a larger, bigger, small force shows magnanimity and accommodation, all the positive connotations of large-heartedness, magnanimity, etc. are attributed to it. But when a smaller, maybe a weaker country or a force shows accommodation, all the negative attributes of got scared, ran away, are attributed to it. So therefore, I personally feel on all this, if we are to follow a course of rapprochement, India has to show that it's a big country with a large heart and not a big country with a small heart. It is India, the onus of taking initiatives lies more on India than on Pakistan.
If, as you say, India needs to be a big country with a big heart, what do you think Pakistan could do also to help improve the atmosphere right now?
Pakistan must cooperate. Pakistan, you have to clap with both hands. Pakistan must positively move forward towards that. I have suggested even yesterday that we need to reduce our forces, proportional reduction of forces. So it's mutual. I think it is reciprocal.
Right, sir. Pervez Musharraf, thanks very much.
Thank you.